Howdy folks, I'm Dan Gross, and welcome to this brand new episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight Series. We're filming in Bop Shop Records this season, and just in case you didn't know, Bop Shop Records is your Rochester home for jazz, blues, and Americana in vinyl for the past 35 years. Joining me today, Jackson Cavalier, Rochester's favorite busker, armed with a guitar, a one-man band setup, and his trademarked cardboard sign with Sharpie lettering. You can often find Jackson serenading around Rochester's street corners. He also has his own group, billed as Jackson Cavalier and the Fever Tones, who serve as the house band for the Daily Refresher on Alexander Street. And he's launching an Indiegogo campaign soon, and he has a gig at about the same time, so we thought this would be a good time for us to sit down and chat with him. Jackson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
So the first question is Jackson Cavalier your real name? Because if so, it is too cool. So I had to ask.
It is not.
Okay.
It is not. No. It's funny. I get when I play gigs or something, people write checks in that name, and I'm like, why did I do this to myself? But besides that, I like it. I think it's cool myself too.
It suits you. So. You're, I think, in a lot of you're in a place right now, you're doing really well for yourself, but maybe any musician who's coming up would say to themselves, I don't know if I'd want to bill myself as a street musician long term. So what maybe about your childhood, growing up and early musical influences kind of affected that? Where did this all start from when you were little Jackson Cavalier?
Well, I decided I wanted to start busking a few years ago to start paying rent.
Right.
Like, most buskers do. But I grew up in Greece. And in Greece, there's, like the Charlotte Pier there. And there's this guy called the Beetle. And back when I was a kid, I thought it was, so cool. I stood out there and, made money. But, I saw him doing that, and I said, I think I'd like to try something like that. So,
yeah.
I got started up doing that. I played music in high school and in various bands and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I was about 19 where I decided, busking could be a thing I could make money on and make decent money on.
Yeah. So when you were younger and you were seeing this guy, the Beetle, play, I mean, what else musically was going on when you were a kid that kind of struck you? What were you listening to that kind of made seeing him resonate with you?
Well, his performance was okay. It was more the fact that he was doing it. But growing up, I always turned to music as a place of solace.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I was like lonely as a kid or anything like that, or had any like extraordinary struggles to go through. But like most kids, you discover it and then you're hooked. If you really are a lover of music, it comes rather quickly. And
yeah,
I listened to like Johnny Cash and Pink Floyd and Rush and all these classic bands and groups. And I said, I kind of want to try doing something like that.
Yeah. So you said you started pretty early at 19. You decided to start doing this. So you mentioned you're in school and you're playing with bands. So what was that? It sounds like it was a really brief period.
Yeah.
But what was that time between, I'm playing a musician and I love doing it versus I'm doing this busking thing now? Like, what was the transition period like?
I think the transition was, I first started playing off in a punk band, and then, I played in a ska band for a while, like most musicians do, where they go through that kind of awkward phase. And then I was doing a blues rock two-piece thing, similar to like the White Stripes or Black Keys. But eventually I found folk music. And from there I realized, a lot of buskers play in that realm. And it translates really well with street corners and stuff like that. A lot of the songs are songs of the people, and you can do it acoustically and get away with it. And I realized that busking was something I wanted to do as much as I could. Busking is street performing. You can there's a lot of different variations of it. There's jugglers, magicians, even those people that stand out in corners and paint themselves gold and silver. Those guys make bank.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. But that's what busking is. And the essential point of it is to kind of have a public performance where you're getting tipped, and some people make their entire living off of it. For a while before I started doing paid gigs at venues and private parties and stuff like that, I was living off of it myself. It's kind of like it's I don't want to say it's a dying art, but it's a kind of obscure art, because people still when they see you somewhere performing, they're kind of taken aback by it, but then once they catch a bit of your performance, they're like, I like this, and they figure out, oh, I'm supposed to tip this guy,
Right.
and then it works out for everyone. But
It sounds like you really enjoy it. So what kind of led you to just sort of perfecting what you do to maybe emotionally embracing it? Because it's still something you're doing. It wasn't just something you did for a bit. So what was the transition, or what was the moment when you realized, oh, this is actually something I really love to do?
I think the moment it hit me where I realized how much I really loved it, and how much I could really make a living off of it and be solid and financially stable, was probably, I want to say, Park Ave Fest of 2014. I set up and started playing, and I had this huge crowd that I'd never had before while busking, and it was just it was probably 50 or 60 people that just kind of gathered around, and I was doing the one-man band thing, and that's that was something I picked up shortly after I started busking, and that that attracts the crowd. It's eye-catching, and I think I do what I do pretty well. I try to make it as less like a cheesy one-man band that you kind of think of in your head, the backpack drum set and stuff, as possible. I try and make people forget that it's just one person playing, and more as if there's a full band, and it's a lot of fun. Probably realized it about them. That's that's why I love doing.
Yeah. How did that sound develop? You said you didn't want to make it seem like a shtick sort of thing. So how did it go from you just on a guitar to developing the set, and then what was the sound you kind of settled on?
So I mentioned I did that blues rock two-piece thing for a while. After that, I realized that I had some issues with my drummer. It just didn't work out, due to some flakiness and not being able to get together or play as many gigs as I wanted to do. So I said, you know what, the music I play, I don't need a drummer. I can settle for just having, the boom of a bass and the chick of a tambourine, and you can get by with a lot of different rhythms playing on that. So shortly after that, I went at it hard for about 3 months, just sitting in my bedroom, playing stuff over and over again, trying to get different beats down, trying to get, different guitar rhythms over those beats, and trying to make it as complicated as possible without overdoing it,
Yeah.
And from there, I realized, it works well for venues. It works well for even when I have other people playing with me. I still don't need a drummer, just because of the fact that, I keep the beat so steady, and I can control not only the dynamics, but also the tempos of songs, and it allows some really interesting, effects in your songs.
So I'm glad you mentioned, playing with other people. So it's not just Jackson Cavalier, it's Jackson Cavalier and the Fever Tones. So could you tell us who else is in the Fever Tones, and then how did the group come to be, and how did you learn to adjust your sound and find something different as a group?
Yeah, so the Fever Tones have been around probably for as long as I've been busking. It kind of started almost as a busking band, and I've had about, I want to say 20 different people in the group over the past few years, just because people come and go and stuff works or it doesn't. But the main person in the Fever Tones besides myself is James Schrag, who plays violin for me. He's the one that's stuck around for the entirety of it, and he's kind of my partner in crime as far as having the actual band there.
Yeah.
But besides that, we've gone through different bassists. We even had an auxiliary drummer at one point. Just a lot of different stuff. But it's been a lot of fun, because I've learned how to work with different people and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And right now it is just a two-piece, me and my violin player, but it's I found out it works really well. I've been doing a lot of finger picking, and I got this amp rig set up where it sounds like I'm playing bass and guitar at the same time. So it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of experience playing, venues around town prior to, getting set up at the Daily. I played the punk chart, countless times. Other small venues.
The rite of passage.
Yes, the rite of passage. And I've played like private parties, all that stuff. So it was the transition to the Daily was relatively easy. Once you start playing at a venue like regularly, like we have been for the past year and a half at the Daily, you kind of understand how to work the crowd, you know how to balance, cover material with original material, and it's definitely something I'm really grateful for. Because if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't be nearly as a level of musicianship that I am now.
Yeah.
Because just the amount of playing time alone has improved my playing so much.
Yeah. Speaking of playing at the Daily Refresher, you can catch Jackson, Cavalier, and the Fear Tones. They're playing October 14th. We'll have a nice, handy link for you in the description above. But at about this time, too, you're also launching an Indiegogo campaign. So can you tell us about that?
I am indeed. So I'm putting out a solo album. It's going to be my first official solo release. It's some material I've been working on for the past year. It's a lot of finger picking. It's blues folk, kind of in the realm of Bob Dylan a little bit, and I got that comparison so much over the past 3 years that I figured, maybe
time to embrace it.
Yeah, time to embrace it a little bit. So it's got the harmonica, it's got the finger picking, and of course it's got the the drum setup. But I'm really happy with all the material on there. It's just a matter of raising costs to not only produce some of it, but also get it mixed and mastered, and get it out there to people.
So if you're looking for the Indiegogo link, you can find it in the description as well. And one more reminder, at this October 14th gig, Jackson will be playing with a couple cats from the Buffalo area. Tyler Westcott will be there. He's from Folk Faces. And then Sean McNamara will be there as well from Our Friends Band. That just about does it for us, Jackson. Thanks for joining us. You can check him out again, the 14th. And don't forget to check out his Indiegogo as well. We'll have links and descriptions for both up above. I'm Dan Gross, and thanks for watching this episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight Series. We'll see you soon.
by the road, yeah, John Heavy laid his hammer lying there, all covered in blood. Take this hammer and bring it to the captain. Tell him I'm gone. Tell him I'm gone. Yeah, take this hammer, bring it to the captain. Tell him I'm gone. I got this rainbow around my shoulder. Shines like gold. Shines like gold. I got this rainbow around my shoulder. Shines like gold. I'm going back to East Colorado. That's where I'm from. That's where I'm from. I'm going back to that East Colorado where I belong. Yeah, I'm going back to that red clay country where I belong. Where I belong. I'm going back to that red clay country where I call home. This old hammer, you don't kill John Henry. Won't kill me. This old hammer,